the plan for David Bakhtiari this week?
Yeah, just get them involved in practice. And today's going to be a little bit different in terms of it's going to be mostly above the neck. We will have some individual periods, but it's primarily going to be more of your jog through type tempo.
How has it gone so far, just in terms of the preparing the quarterbacks for the game with Aaron going through Zoom, Jordan practicing? You talked about how unique it was going to be. How is that dynamic kind of?
Yeah, I mean, we've only had our morning meetings, so I can give you a better answer as we progress throughout the week. But I do think it's a good opportunity for Jordan to continue to get those reps that he wouldn't necessarily get. And then Aaron was fully involved and quite interactive with us in the meetings.
How's that look in practice for you? Do you have him on FaceTime and someone hold the phone up behind the huddle to watch, or does he just not take part in the practice part?
No, he won't take part of the practice part, but he will be in our post-practice meetings where we're watching the tape and kind of discussing in detail each individual play.
Matt, in hindsight, do you wish that you had prevented the Halloween party from happening, and why wasn't that prevented?
Well, I don't know how much I can control that. So, I think if you look around just society right now, if you look around the league, I mean, COVID's going around. And whether, again, vaccinated, unvaccinated, it's happening. I have talked to the guys about just trying to be as responsible as you can. I don't think anybody's going to shut down their world, their life, but just understand what we all have at stake and the ramifications of if somebody does get it, and then you get into potentially spreading it to other people, and then the close contacts. I know that the reality is we have full stadiums. I've got people, family members that are coming in town to the game. Matter of fact, I had a family member that wasn't feeling well, and my wife told that person to make sure you go get tested, and found out they were sick. They had COVID, so they're not coming to the game. And I think that's just one of the precautions that we all need to take. As I'm talking to everybody involved with our football team, as we have people coming in and out of town.
Matt, hypothetically speaking, of course, how would you like to coach Odell Beckham Jr. potentially?
Listen, I can't get into anybody that's not on our football team. But that's a great question.
Matt, without discussing the content of the conversations, did you have a talk with your quarterback, though? I know how highly you regard him, but just about everything that's gone on in the last week to 10 days and just kind of the way things have played out, and just how important he is to what you guys do, and maybe how he handled some things that created a lot of attention?
Yeah, I mean, we're in constant communication. I'm not going to get into details of what we talked about, but he and I have a great relationship, and we're going to keep it moving. We're focused on Seattle.
Speaking of Seattle, you said something on Monday that I should have followed up on, and I didn't, which is an issue that I've been having lately, apparently. Did you say that there was a circumstance where both of them could play some snaps at quarterback in the game? It kind of sounded like that might be.
No, I mean.
Is that not that?
No. I think Jordan, from his perspective, what I told him is, I said it's no different than last week for you, or any other week for that matter. You always have to prepare yourself as the starter. But, I don't foresee, us doing a rotation at that position.
Matt, they had that ramp-up period for guys coming back from COVID, I guess 3 days or something like that. How do you know at the end of that, who's the judge as to whether, Aaron is physically ready to play, his endurance is good enough, his strength is good enough? I mean, does that come down to you ultimately?
No, I have nothing to do with that process. That is all our athletic trainers and doctors that determine that. I am not involved with that process at all.
Is there a decision if he is cleared for for you in terms of what's his safety level, you know, and things like that? Or if he's cleared, doctors give you cleared, he's good to go?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you're always concerned for the health and well-being of your players. So that's always part of the discussion. But, you know, if typically I'd say when guys are cleared, we don't ask too many questions.
I know Saturday is the day that's key for Rodgers to return, but are you aware, is he taking tests in the interim, and is he testing negative yet? Do you know where he stands to give you guys sort of a preparation edge there to know if he already is or not?
Well, I believe all these guys are getting tested every day. Just, but I that could be totally. I know some of our guys have tested every day. I just don't know with his exact situation.
How tough is that balance of this is our year, we're all in this year, and then having to factor in next year with contracts and stuff like that?
I mean, you guys have heard me say it a million times, like, you can't look too far in front of you. We're going to take it one day at a time, try to get better each and every day. You can't take anything for granted because you just never know. Nothing's guaranteed. So if we focus on anything other than the Seattle Seahawks, we're doing ourselves a disservice, and that's where 100% of our focus lies.
What are you expecting in terms of the energy, the motivation of the Seahawks? They've got 5 losses. They can't afford many more. They're coming off a bye week. They're getting their quarterback back. Just what are you expecting from them?
I expect a playoff caliber team to come in here and give us everything they have. And, you know, the one thing that definitely stands out on tape, they're a very physical football team. And so we're going to have to make sure that we match their physicality.
Has it been any harder in the past week to avoid distractions than usual? I mean, how have you gone about that? I know that you want to coach ball, that's your thing, right? But there's a lot that's been happening.
Yeah, it's called kind of keep your head in the sand and don't look at anything. And I constantly have to remind everybody, like in my family, hey, don't read, don't look at anything. And I have to follow the same advice, I guess. It's just, you just focus on the task at hand. And because each week is such a challenge, no matter who you're playing. Everybody has different circumstances. Everybody in the league is going through adversity. So you just gotta keep putting one foot in front of the other and focus what you have right in front of you.
Is it hard not to peek, just from a human nature standpoint, is it hard not to peek at what else is happening and keeping that head in the sand?
I don't know. I think that, you know, you say something so much, you start to just, it becomes who you are. And I think our guys have done such a great job of that. Just focusing on one day at a time. And certainly there's other things in the world that are going on, but, you know, I know, at least I can speak for myself on this. I know where my attention is totally focused on.
We went through the process for a new defensive coordinator. How much did you want this scheme, whether it turned out to be Joe or some of the other guys you talked to have some similarities too? What did you really like about this scheme, and has it worked kind of the way to this point you envisioned it?
Well, I think every scheme has its own benefits, and there's drawbacks to every scheme as well. I think ultimately it comes down to just the guys that are on the field all being on the same page, knowing the details of whatever it is that they're asked to do, and then going out there and executing. And certainly, no matter what the scheme, when you have good players, it definitely makes you a better coach. So that's just the reality of the situation. But yeah, there was a lot to like about this system that just in preparing for it, I would say just over the course of my career, you know, it falls under that Fangio umbrella, and certainly there's some intricacies with it that are very appealing, and that ultimately is, I wouldn't say it was the sole reason, but it certainly factored in.
Now, what's the biggest challenge with Lockett and Metcalf and the way that they kind of use them, you know, contrasting, and how have you kind of seen them make an impact this year with what they've done?
Yeah, they're just two dynamic football players. We showed a bunch of clips this morning, just the ability they have. You're right, they're different. One guy's 6'4", the other guy's 5'11" or whatever it is, and they're just very explosive, and you got to make sure that you keep eyes on them at all times because they can burn you. And then you compound that with the fact that, we're anticipating Russell to be back and his ability to create off schedule, and it is a great challenge. But, it's just one of those, again, each week is a different challenge, and that just happens to be it this week.
Hey guys, have you and Mo Drayton discussed whether it's scheme changes, personnel changes, or you just dig in and just get extra time this week? What's the process?
Yeah, I mean, we're always focused in trying to find different ways to attack, or if we have to change things because we're getting exploited in some aspect, we're always looking at everything to improve. So that's a constant discussion. Sometimes it's scheme driven, sometimes it's personnel driven.
You guys have had this one home game and what seems like forever, 4 out of 5 on the road. How's it feel to be home and have a few of these coming up here?
Well, it's so early in the week. You don't even appreciate it, I would say, until the end of the week, until you get into Saturday and you're used to packing up and traveling on the road. But now you might have some extra time with your family, and certainly on Sunday, that's when you really appreciate it, when you get around your fans and you can feel their energy. And I hope everybody brings it and is really loud on Sunday.
Matt, this week you go up against Pete Carroll. The guy's been in the league a long time. You've gone up against Fangio's and Rivera's, Andy this past weekend. Do you, in the off season, when the schedule comes up, do you look at tendencies that coaches have when they manage games, and how much do you learn when you go up against these guys?
I think you learn from every experience, no matter who's coaching on the other side. Certainly, Coach Carroll is somebody I have the utmost respect for. He's been doing it at the highest level, as Super Bowl champion, and so you always respect that. But as far as studying each individual coach, I wouldn't say we necessarily do that. Now you do more so with some of the coordinators, the guy who are the play callers, and then I think that's just, there's so many things that change throughout the course of the year that you do in the off season. You study different people, whatever it may be, but it's hard to prepare. What are we, week 10 now? I don't even remember what week we are. Week 10. It's hard to put something together in the off season for that because there's just so many things that you can't anticipate that could potentially happen.
Matt, you're going up against a defense that's improved steadily each week. What do you see when you look at the Seattle defenses compared to some of the other defenses that you guys face?
Yeah, I would say this is one of the best tackling units that we've seen. There's the two safeties are dynamic. Obviously, everybody knows Bobby Wagner in the middle. They're just a really good tackling team. I think they're sound. I think they do an unbelievable job. You look at situational football, third down, red zone. That's where they're making their money. They're doing a great job. I know teams have been able to move the football, but it's about scoring in this league, and these guys do as good of a job as anybody in those situations. And so we're going to have to do a great job first, second down, staying in front of the chains, so we have those manageable situations, because it's tough sledding when you put yourself behind the sticks versus defense.
Matt, how did you think that Valdez-Scantling did in the first game back? Was there an acclimation period there, and do you expect him to be better this week or more confident in his hamstring?
Yeah, no, I thought he did. He did everything we asked him to do. I know he didn't get a lot of opportunity, and that's just the way the game went. But I think the more that he can get out there and practice and play, I think it was a long time that he had off. And I think football is such a unique sport in terms of it's hard to get better when you don't practice. So I think that that's something that for all the guys that are out for a while, it typically takes a second. Now, I thought he did everything we asked him to do, and I thought he did a great job.
All right, let's go to Zoom. Sarah, go ahead.
Yep, just one, Aaron Nagler.
Coach, I got a two-parter on your running back tandem here. Do you ever have a check-in with the analytics folks in-game when it comes to how guys are performing? Like, let's say Aaron's getting, whatever after contact, or AJ's doing whatever in the passing game. Is there ever a moment where you're asking the analytics folks in-game about performance? And after that, do you feel like you need to do maybe a better job of riding the hot hand? Right now, it seems like you guys are really kind of get a guy going, and then he's off, and then he's got back on later. It just seems kind of like at the whims of, I'm not sure what.
Yeah, no, it's nothing I've ever talked to any analytical people in game. I think it's more of a feel, and a lot of times going into games, we have a rotation for those guys in terms of how we're going to use them, especially in the first half. In the second half, that's when you can kind of more or less lean on the hot hand or whatever it may be. But I think Ben does a great job of using both of those guys and subbing them in and out. And I guess I got to do a better job in your eyes.